feel weed is like, yes, like I was saying, like I was talking about. I feel like weed is a very underestimated painkiller. I don't know. I would actually be curious to know if a doctor could leave a comment talking about um, talking about the consumption of other ways, of other entryways of THC and CBD, especially CBD. I wonder how effective it would be as a natural drug in order to, I don't know, perform anesthesia, you know, like sedation. Um, I'd always ask myself that question. I didn't really actually take a look at that, but I've always wondered because, you know, I've seen other healthcare professionals like doctors talk about why smoking is actually bad. Find a new cemetery to the forsaken weeping. So yeah, I was like, well, smoking it is bad because the studies show that you're still doing as maybe not as much, but still a significant amount of damage to the lungs by smoking the by smoking the drug. So yeah, you're doing like just as much damage to your, oh shit, magic pants. Yo, what's Z? Not bad. Not bad.
Scavengers are ugly, pathetic creatures who survive off of carrion and corpses, too diseased to attract any other carnivores. I did once meet a raggedy fellow who claimed that he had trained one of the beasts to bring him large rats to eat. But I'm sure the story is utter nonsense.
Um. So yeah, if you and like if you're asking what kind of study it was, I actually just YouTube some doctor, um, actually just YouTube the nefarious, um, actually no, the comparison of tobacco and marijuana smoke, and smoking the marijuana. So I searched that, and the doctor was saying it's less if you look at the statistics, and he also compared vaping, for that matter. It was also less than marijuana smoke, but still as damaging. Because what happens is that your lungs should only receive air, and that's it. They should only receive air and nothing more. Um, and the smoke you're inhaling, like it or not, it is in its chemical compound smoke, which is an irritant for the lungs. So it is normal that smoking marijuana as much as a cigarette is actually comparable. Now, granted, for the effects, we're not going there. I'm just talking about in comparison of damage, which makes logical sense actually. And I guess consuming it in different ways, of course, they would find another different ways of consuming marijuana. You know, either sublingually with the oils, either you taking it as consumables, like, but you're still taking them like by the mouth, right? You're still taking it by the mouth, or at least sublingually. Um, but if you consume it, it's still by the mouth. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that imagine doing that intravenously, like being able to mix it as an organic compound and try to put it for inductions. I would like to, like, I'm actually curious to know about studies like that. Okay, before we go any further, I will go back to searching what I was curious about. THC CBD usage for anesthesia, and I really want to learn. If you are how you should not use cannabis products. Okay, you're searching. Okay, let's try study. Study. A study in mice with pure extracts of THC, CBD, and cannabinol showed that both THC and CBD delayed additive prolongation of anesthetic duration. So it not it counteracts, but it decreases. It decreases your anesthetic duration. So it might be a competitive agonist or antagonist. Let's see what it says. Let's see what it says. That's a guess that I have. That's actually a guess that I have. A review of the anesthetic implications of marijuana use. Derived from plants, okay. Nevertheless, most states have passed stringent laws, okay. Becomes common in larger population who are chronic and who are heavy users, present surgical procedures, raising a question of best practice. Okay. Summarizing the laws of marijuana in humans, discusses potential implications of marijuana that the anesthesia should consider at each phase of perioperative period and outlines recommendation. Okay. Okay, so this is the history of the plant. This is the history of it. Okay. That's fine. This is starting to get interesting right here. Pharmacokinetics of cannabinoids are difficult to predict because the THC concentration in any one derived dose depends on several variables, including the THC concentration of the cannabis product, the route of delivery, and the metabolism and elimination of the cannabinoids. 2 marijuana cigarettes from a highly potency train measured. Okay, so that's fine. But we know that the more THC you have, and it's exponential, the more THC you have, the greater the effect. Because they will achieve different effects depending on the dosages. Dose delivery is highly dependent on the user's smoking style. Okay, fine. Are apparent within seconds of inhalations, but may be delayed up to 1 to 2 hours with oral ingestion. Okay, makes sense. BHO extracts, because they're extracted, okay. Cannabinoids are also highly lipid soluble, so significant redistribution and accumulation once ingested. That is insane. That is actually insane. Cannabinoids are also lipid soluble. So I'm guessing if you smoke it as well, it is lipid soluble. Just like your anesthetic gases, right? Metabolism of THC occurs via the liver, leading to multiple psychoactive and non-psychoactive metabolites. Okay, fine. Of metabolites occur via urine, bile, and feces. Okay, so that's the elimination process. Okay. Plasma half-life ranges from 20 to 30 hours. Oh shit. Okay. The tissue half-life maybe as long as 30 days. Okay, fine. Whatever. But plasma half-life, I wouldn't. Okay, that's irrelevant for what we're trying to research, but it's still interesting to know. Act primarily as an adenylyl cyclase G protein, adenylyl cyclase G protein coupled receptor. CB1 receptors are readily distributed in the nervous system, especially the hippocampus, cortex, olfactory areas, basal ganglia, cerebellum, and dorsal horn of the spinal cord, but less so in the brainstem. Okay. Cannabinoids effects on nociceptor anxiolysis. Okay, fine. Memory, cognition, emotion, and movements. Okay, all right. Nociception is, for if you're wondering, I'm just going to make sure that it's the correct word, but I think it means hypnosis. I think that it means hypnosis. Receptors responsible for sleep. Process of noxious stimuli. What is the meaning of nociception? Detection of painful stimuli. Oh, okay, so it's the detection of pain. Okay. But see, distribution may account for cannabinoids' effects on nociception, anxiolysis, memory, and cognition. So in anesthesia, these two, this is starting to get really interesting for anesthesia, right? Memory, cognition, emotion, movement. Side effect right here, one of the potent side effects that you're risking by administering this at high dosages. The CB2 receptors are distributed primarily in the peripheral lymphoid and hematopoietic cells, suggesting an immunomodulatory function through understanding of the effects of cannabinoids at these receptors remain incomplete. It is clear, however, that each of the hundreds of cannabinoids has variable effects. For example, whereas THC is an agonist at CB1 and CB2 receptor, CBD may act as an antagonist or inverse agonist at both CB1 and CB2 receptors. Yet CBD also has agonist actions at the serotonin 5-HT1A and transient receptor. Okay. May decrease the uptake of endocannabinoids, thus augmenting their effect. Okay. So in this case, what we learned here is this is starting to get interesting since these guys are acting as agonists for the effects of pain relief and anxiolysis. So reducing the anxiety. So THC, again, THC would have that, but CBD may not and may act as an antagonist. But these guys release serotonin, 5-HT1A. We'll get to that in a second if it does interest us, but mainly this is starting to get interesting. Understanding of these physiological changes with the cannabinoid is incomplete. First, there are many cannabinoids present, okay, have variable effects, fair enough. Each have variable effect. Okay, the only federal approved source of cannabis research purposes come from a single location, the University of Mississippi. Okay, fine. Fine. Available does not accurately reflect what is used with the population. Okay. Okay. There are some substantial differences in the physiological changes with THC administration. So we're limited from animal studies to human studies. Okay, fine. This is what this whole paragraph until here is saying. For example, THC has been shown to reliably cause tachycardia and post-rural hypotension in human, regardless of the route of administration. Okay. Important side effect, important negative side effect here, but causes bradycardia in anesthetized dogs and cats. Okay, as well as bradycardia and hypertension in rats. Okay. THC administration also results in bronchodilation in humans. Positive side effect. But causes vaguely mediated increased resistance in lungs of dogs. And marked respiratory depression in cats. Okay, well. I mean, respiratory depression was also one of our side effects, but it was mild, I'm guessing is what they were saying, compared to humans. Physiologic effects are summarized on table 1, most likely. Okay. Tachycardia, vasodilation, orthostasis. Orthostasis is would be referring to the blood when it is not in movement. I'm guessing it is a complication of this effect because this greatly affects how this will occur. Chronic effects, aderomatous disease. I'm guessing is if you smoke it, or unless it has been, unless another study actually found that ingesting cannabis in any way possible will cause this eventually. So we'll see. Pulmonary bronchodilation, okay. Chronic bronchitis. if inhaled and if inhaled. So for those who smoke it, you got your who are still smokers. You got your answer right here on how it's just as bad as smoking a cigarette. Um, but as a gas, THC. Imagine this: THC only as a gas, bronchodilation, hyperactivity, oh, and airway edema. But I'm guessing airway edema would be a complication of smoking it, right? Or maybe it just does this as well. Hyperreactivity, but it causes bronchodilation. Anyways, this is an interesting side effect. It's a really good positive side effect. Central nervous system anxiolysis, similar to the effects, but tolerance develops during higher doses, requiring higher doses. Okay, so this has an effect, just like that could cause opioid, that could cause opioid addiction, kind of similar to that in that sense. Anxiolysis, but will cause anxiety, I guess. If you put these two together, you get a dissociative effect, kind of similar to ketamine. Paranoia psychosis. Okay, this is a huge complication, by the way. Euphoria, dizziness, headache, memory, dysfunction. Okay, analgesia. Analgesia. Anxiolysis and analgesia is what we are aiming for. Anti-nausea, hyperemesis. Increased appetite, abdominal pain. Probably at higher doses, at extreme higher doses. But the anti-nausea effect, I think, comes from the CBD effect. Gynestomastia. That is the increase of the boobs, male or female, and ovulation. Okay, that's bad for the woman, which means they were. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the reduction or the complete inhibition of ovulation at the woman's side. Galactorrhea. I wouldn't tell you what this is, and I don't really want to research for it. So that is it. Okay, so we got some potent side effects, some good, some bad. One of the most consistent acute effects of cannabis is tachycardia. Okay, all right. Torpor, anxiety leading to paranoia, frank psychosis with cannabis use. The greater it is, the worse the effects are. Psychotic episode events, the advent of organic extraction techniques, okay, has resulted in several reports, okay. Severe nausea and vomiting. Okay, this is interesting. Currently show bronchodilation and decreased airway resistance with either inhaled or ingested THC. So I wonder if there could be an actual use for this aside from anesthesia, like for example in an asthma attack. Imagine giving nebulized THC. Bro, that's fucking amazing. Some authors have expressed concerns that cannabis may be more irritating, that it burns at a higher temperature than tobacco. Okay, but if you're able to extract the THC, make like a medical substance that has a high concentration of THC, and to prepare it, you'd have to dilute it, for example. Like admitting the effects are super strong. Let's say you dilute it with 0.9% NS, and then administer it via nebulizer. You won't get the burning effect, right? Because you're not smoking it. You know, you're not forcing your asthmatic patient to smoke it. You're nebulizing it through a flow of oxygen that goes into the nebulizer mask. You know, he's basically breathing. He's basically breathing particles of water at this point. That's what nebulization practically is. Improvement, their wording anxiety, okay. Hyperemesis syndrome, okay. Psychomotor effects that is often implicated for motor vehicle accident. Okay, so it decreases like awareness. Chronic effects include okay, withdrawal syndromes. That's fine because we spoke about the effects of it needing more to achieve the same effects if you take it constantly and more. Preoperative considerations. Okay, this is what's interests us. Talk about the most recent intake. Okay, if patient exhibits nervous system of angina, should inquire angina. Okay, fine. Both acute and chronic administration of crude extracts of plants have been shown to decrease the required induction dose of thiopental in rabbits without commensurate prolongation of anesthetic duration. A study in mice with pure extracts of THC, CBD, and cannabinol showed that both THC and CBD displayed additive prolongation of anesthetic duration, whereas cannabinol-containing extracts blunted this prolongation. This led to the conclusion that cannabinol may antagonize or have a negative effect on the sedative hypnotics, thus prolonging effects of THC and CBD. Other studies in mice show that cannabinoid-induced analgesic tolerance to morphine, but not to mescaline or lysergic. Okay, so I wouldn't say about these medication. Thiopental was the induction agent before they discovered propofol. As I was told, they discovered propofol, used these two for a while, but then thiopental just kind of wore off. Here in Quebec, I've never seen anybody induced with this, by the way. Similar studies in humans have not been published. Have been more thoroughly studied in animal models. Okay. So you could use it as an adjuvant for your induction agents, but you get the risk of inhibiting like morphine. But, I'm just saying this. What happens during the surgery? The patient is cut open, right? When you do that, you get a tachycardic response and a hypertensive response to that stimulation of the knife, right? Imagine you just gave this and he just remains hypotensive the whole time. That would like I'm just saying this off the top of my head. And if there's way more studies than this, then I would be actually curious to know if a doctor could stitch on top of my stuff that I'm saying here. But imagine this. You give THC. They start stimulating the patient with the cutter. And nothing happens. What a wonderful world we live in. The guy doesn't... You don't get this this sympathetic response to the painful stimuli because of the THC. Granted, if it is significant, so let's say it is a huge hypotensive effect and a huge, I'm sorry, no, just hypotensive. We just saw earlier that it causes tachycardia. I'm sorry. Let's say you do have that. You do get a huge, massive hypotension. I would be curious if phenylephrine, which is your vasoconstricting agent in the OR in case of massive hypotension. So I'm wondering if phenylephrine is also antagonized by THC. I'm just curious. I'd be curious to know. Dose required to achieve a bispectral index less than 0 showed that they required significant higher induction doses of propofol when compared to okay. Interesting. So propofol does the opposite effect of THC. Okay, so I can see why it's mitigated because anesthesia loves their propofol, so you're never going to take that away. Propofol being the induction agent to induce sleep. Controlling your minimum. Okay. Small study showed that administration of Sativex, okay, a 1-to-1 ratio resulted in an increase in BIS, even when controlling for minimum alveolar. Whether this In addition, most users utilize high THC, minimal CBD strains. There are studies, strains, okay, it's unclear whether CBD in the study would have a differential, okay? Though chronic cannabis users develop tolerance to the neurocognitive effects of the drugs between cannabis and anesthetic agent. One human study showed a lack of cross tolerance of such effects with alcohol in heavy cannabis users. Okay. So there's no cross tolerance effect between alcohol and cannabis users. But it was unclear whether this represented a shallower depth of anesthesia or cannabinoid induced increase in electroencephalogram EEG activity. Right. Because THC, as we saw, as one of the adverse effects, can cause anxiolysis or can increase your anxiety, hence increasing your brain activity. Could also cause psychosis, could also cause like these huge ass effects. Higher induction of propofol, less than, okay, fine. There are no specific data regarding intraoperative analgesic use in cannabis users, but recent studies have shown that cannabis users report higher pain scores, have worse sleep, and require more rescue analgesics in the immediate post-op phase of care. Okay, that this population greater anesthetic. Okay, that's supposed to refute this view. Okay, fine. There are no data to support or refute this view. Okay, fine. Multimodal analgesic approach utilizing acetaminophen and steroid drug combined with the local or regional, if possible, would be beneficial. I am questioning this paragraph, the integrity of this paragraph. I won't get into the details. I would probably get back to it if you guys ask the question, but I'm not. Post-op should remain vigilant, presenting system of the okay. In patients, anesthetic consideration for other drugs, intra-op tolerance or induction data. Okay, so this just says if you have a cannabis users, what you should do with them. But there's no study that shows. There's no study that actually shows in perioperative care. These are considerations. Okay. Cannabis and surgery made for this moment. Okay. At least this is the American Society. Cannabis and surgery. Doctor is still learning. Okay. Okay, so this is a patient information thing. Okay, this is a .org website, so whatever. Okay, why I can't use... Okay, this is again a patient thing. They needed more anesthesia during their procedure. Okay. This comes by what PubMed was saying. So the NIH was talking about. Using THC for anesthesia study. Of marijuana use. Okay. I think this is the same. This is actually the same one before. Okay. Results. Request permission. Okay. On pain control. Okay. I understand. I understand, but what they're trying to do, but it doesn't seem that there have been any other studies trying to see whether or not you could replace, I don't know, opioids with cannabinoids agents to reduce the pain, right? Um, or to keep them within their maintaining phase during the OR. So maintaining phase meaning you either go with a TIVA or you go with your gases. So there doesn't seem to be any research regarding that aspect of anesthesia. We've only seen how it is it could be harmful if the patient is already taking cannabis. Either way, I am very disappointed at the. I am very disappointed at uh, what I was